everybody. Welcome back into the next edition of JB and Steel. We are here with edition. Is this one 18 now?
20.
20? Oh, 20. Damn, we're at 20 already. Okay. So 20, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to start with talking about hockey in the playoffs. One's in the finals and two are in the conference finals. The AHL and NHL in the conference finals, and, of course, the ECHL for the Kelly Cup is in the actual finals with Toledo and the Florida Everblades. But we'll get into the AHL first, where in Game 1 between the Springfield Thunderbirds and the Laval Rocket, Danique Martel, the former Phantom, was able to get his 7th of the postseason to start off that scoring in the first period. Then there was no scoring again until Brady Lyle was able to tie it up late in that third period to give them a chance in OT, where at about the 10-minute mark, Matthew Pekka was able to bury one from another Matthew, the double Matthew duo right there. Matthew Cassell was able to get the nice pass to Matthew Pekka for him to be able to bury it in OT, and that's how that first game ended. That was a good game that neither team was able to do anything on the power play, but it was a good goaltending game with a lot of shots from both sides. And both goalies between Caden Primo and Hoffer, I believe, was a guy in for the Springfield Thunderbirds. They have him and Lindgren, young kid. Joel Hoffer, who's playing really well. Right? He's the one that scored a goal, in the postseason.
Yeah, but that's Keith Primo's son.
Caden, Caden's. Hoffer's the one that scored a goal in the postseason. Caden's Keith's son. He's having a very good postseason. He had a decent season. He didn't have a great season, but his postseason's been great.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, not bad for. All right, so that series is tied now, right?
And
that was game 1.
Tied 1-1 because in game 2, Laval was able to come back and win 4-2. Still a power play-less series where it was 0-3 for Laval and 0-4 for Springfield. So the penalty kills are top notch. So this has been a 5-on-5 series here, as Brandon Ignock was able to score, Yolden was able to score, Mackenzie McCurchin was able to score, Belzile was able to score in the second, which then gave them at that point the 3-1 lead. And then Harvey Pinard, who's likely to be a guy that'll play in the NHL at some point, was able to score late in that second. And then Costin early in the third made it seem like they could have made a comeback. But after that goal, they weren't able to get anything else past Primo. When Clem Costin scored only 2 minutes into that third period. I mean, in that game, the Springfield had the shots, but Laval just came out with a better game plan and kept them to the outside and just played more of their style offensively. And it's kind of like once the Rangers realized who they were in the postseason and stopped trying to play the other team's style, that's when they played the best. And as soon as they clicked that in, they've been, other than last game, unstoppable pretty much ever since. So, and I still think they're going to win that series, to be honest. That would be my prediction on that series. But so I think the Rangers are kind of like an example that fits into that. But Laval was able to have a nice comeback when it came to having a bad game 1 in terms of having the lead, blowing it late, and then losing. They were able to have a nice bounce back for sure.
It's kind of funny, though, that you mentioned that, because both Springfield and Laval both had a sweep of their previous round to get to this round. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to see for some pretty evenly matched teams here, which goes to show you why the 5-on-5 is more the case here than the power play, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then in the Chicago Wolves game, that was not the case. The power play was the reason the Chicago Wolves won the game, going 3-for-3, as normally they don't give up nearly these goals. They won the award for the fewest goals allowed by a team, which is basically kind of the William Jennings for the AHL, essentially, where Lyon and the rest of their staff won that award. So they don't give up 4 often. So they gave up 4 in this game. Levo started it, who's a great AHL veteran. Phillip then tied it only 3 minutes later. And then the second period was just crazy in this game with 4 goals, where Walker Dorr was able to get one. Itu Tualola, there we go. I almost got him to Tiravainen, was able to get his second. Jalen Chatfield then got his first of the postseason there for the young kid, where Jack Drury, the rookie, was able to pick up his 5th assist, and then picked up his 6th assist on the Josh Levo goal, which was his 8th at the 12:50 mark, which was their power play goal, his second power play goal of the day. And then Stefan Nosen scored a power play goal to start the third, and that was basically all she wrote. We thought, because at that point it looked like Chicago. Once Chicago, to me, took the lead, when the Wolves are one of those AHL teams, once they kind of take the lead, they tend to hold it. It's like a Barry Trotz team. Like they can lead in the third. Now we go to bat, but somehow Connor Zare, another youngster, was able to find a way to get his first of the postseason as kids stepped up with Sheffield, Drury, and Zare from the Stockton Heat side of things. Yeah, stepped up, and then Tulola stepped up in this game as well as Luke Phillip got his first. So the youngsters stepped up, and then Jamison Reese was the guy who was able to step up for the Wolves, another youngster that was a second-round pick in 2019. So all the kids really showed out in this game for both teams. That put literally them over the top, as Reese was the guy that was able to win it for the Wolves. That was a great first game. Definitely looking forward to that second game.
For sure, man. You know, that's the other thing where...
Which is tonight, by the way.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when
is it? At 7 Central Time.
Okay, so that's going to be Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals between Chicago Wolves and Stockton Heat. And both of them all kind of came from their divisional rounds and everything like that, and they all played a total of 4 games, where Laval and Springfield only played 3, and they're, semifinal rounds or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's been interesting, but it's been interesting and difficult, but fun to follow at the same time with how they've done the playoffs this year. But
yeah, I agree.
Especially, so I think it's been a fun time, but I'm enjoying the conference finals for sure, and it's a lot easier to follow it now because it's just down to the final 4. And that obviously makes it a lot more easier to go along and get along with what the heck is going on with everything.
Exactly. What's going on with the Kelly Cup, though? Where is that at?
That's what I was going to say. We can move into the Florida Everblades of the Eastern Conference have a 2-0 lead over the Toledo Walleye of the Western Conference, who were the first-place team in the regular season. 2, I want to say, above the Reading Royals. 2 points, I think. It might have been 3. But it was 2 or 3 points above the Royals, one of those 2. As in Game 1, that was a closer game where the Walleye lost 3-2. As Johnson, again, just continues to goaltend. Aliardi scored 2 goals. And Zach Solo, who Jamie and I love as a player, that'll probably get an AHL shot sooner rather than later, was able to score to start the scoring. And then Aliardi just took over for them. So that was a game of 2. Albert and Gazzola were able to score, but Johnson continues to man his net exceptionally well. It wasn't like Christopoulos had an awful game, but it definitely wasn't one of his on games. So he definitely would want to improve from that last outing. But I thought he played okay. Well, from that first outing. Yeah. And I thought he played okay. But then we're going to talk about the second game, which was 3-1. And in that game, I didn't think he played great. So he went from having an off first game as one of the best ECHL goalies to then having a not great second game. So obviously in the third game, now it's really bounce back time. And you're really going to want to step up here and show out for your team, because Cam Johnson has been really starting to make a name for himself this year. But before this year, he's kind of one of those overlooked guys as a goaltender in the ECHL, where everybody else was talked about, and then there's just him over here doing good things, but he just wasn't talked about like everybody else. Well, now they're up 2-0. Now he is talked about, so from his perspective, he has all the pressure now because he is kind of the talked about guy, where Christopoulos still has all the pressure in the world. So it's kind of like a double pressure situation, because from Johnson's standpoint, it's, oh my God, now I'm actually the guy that everyone's talking about. And for Christopoulos, it's now everyone's saying I'm kind of screwing it a little bit, and I'm supposed to be one of the best in the league. Yeah. So I need to really step up now.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, it's been exciting to see how both the AHL and the ECHL have come back from dealing with all of the COVID and everything last season.
And they've both done it greatly. They both have expansions. They have the Sun Devils next year, which is in Coachella. And then
Right.
the ECHL has a couple teams coming as well, which some others probably down the pipe as well. So though they continue to expand, the NHL we'll throw this in here. The NHL also seems like they're moving in the right direction because that place in Tempe, if they put it together, looks pretty nice, and I'll be in Arizona a hell of a lot more often. So I think they're starting to everything in hockey starting to move better in the right direction. So I think that's good, and I think also with foreign markets, it's just going to be more and more available to have games in Sweden, to have games in Switzerland, to have games in
or whatever.
Yes, if Ireland or Scotland with them, yeah, like any European country that wants to have games, that would be a cool setting. So I think that would be awesome. Like the KHL one time had a game in the Coliseum.
I mean,
So like there's cool places you can have games. So like I think the NHL can obviously take advantage of that in the future, but it seems like that's kind of the direction they're heading, and I really like that if that is the direction they're heading. Because those are things, if I had the money, I would just go to that country, even though I can watch games here all the time. Like, well, I'm just going for the experience of the fact that it's in whatever this stadium is that I would never go to at any other time in my life. But speaking of the NHL, perfect segue.
Right.
We can.
Perfect segue indeed. But by the way, if you ever get a chance to go to places, don't give up on those chances. You know what I mean? Take those chances if you can to go places and experience those things, because you don't always get to experience all those kinds of things, and if you get a chance to, sometimes that's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So,
yeah.
So, speaking of NHL,
like me for the last week and a half, which is why I don't have a voice.
Well, we tried to wait a little bit for when you got back from vacation and everything. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, but so anyway.
Back to the NHL. Sorry for the little tangent there.
Oilers and Avalanche. Similar to their last series, scoring galore game one. The Avalanche were able to, after Evander Kane opened the scoring, come out and get the next two, but then Hyman was able to even that one up. McCarr was then able to give them the lead, and then they got the next two again. But then McLeod was able to bring them down by one. Ratty was able to score. Comfort was able to score again. Cogliano, of all people, got a very important goal in this game. But then McDavid, of course, is able to score. Derek Ryan, of all people, got an important goal in the game. And then News brought them down by one until, of course, Landeskog ended it in the empty netter. That game was not a game for the goaltenders. Both played bad. It was just one of those games. And, of course, in that game, too, to compound it for the Avalanche, Darcy Kemper did get injured after not having a good game either. And then Francois came in and played okay, but of course since has played very well. So that's obviously the bigger picture there, and the more important thing. Pavel Francois, after not being great coming in, I don't look at that sideways, because he came in from being flat and not energized, not ready to go at all, just sitting on the bench and then getting thrown into the middle of the conference finals when you haven't played in a live action in weeks. So the fact that he came back and shut them out 4-0 in the next game and was 24 for 24. And Smith had a solid game, though, in this game to keep the Oilers. Like, this game actually could have been probably 7-0 if it was not a game that Mike Smith at least kept them in the game. So
yeah.
I don't think that game was anything on Mike Smith. I just think the Oilers sucked that game.
Well, let me just say this, okay? That game was completely turned upside down from the very beginning, because at first they thought that Kemper was having a equipment issue, which I think he was, and then I think he came back and then got injured.
And then he never came back out. He just
right.
Yeah, he never. Right. Before the game, they thought he was having an equipment issue, but maybe it was just something nagging him. And then he went back in, and then he never came back out. And then he was basically game time decisions and everything. But obviously, Francois has been the guy. So
exactly. So I mean, I tell you what, the fact that Colorado came out and basically retooled their goaltending room after Grubauer with Francouz and Darcy Kemper, and the fact that Kemper's out and Francouz has just come in and has been like, okay, what? no problem. I
No,
got
that's
this,
the
guys.
thing. He's a good goalie. He just hasn't been healthy. Like, he came over, played great when he first came over,
Yeah.
then was injured pretty much all of last year. And now, since coming back, he got rewarded for playing well again. That's why they gave him that extension, because he's a cheap, good backup when healthy. So
Yeah.
hopefully he stays healthy for them, because that's the biggest key I would have for Colorado going forward. If Darcy's dinged up, they don't want to be down to the third guy. So the
Exactly.
biggest key would be him staying healthy. They do have a good youngster in Noonan in their system, but you don't want to have him have to get thrown into the like a Chekhov and have to get thrown kind of right into
Right.
fire here. But
Exactly.
that game, yeah, I thought in game 2 though the Oilers just didn't play well. Like Lehkonen, in the first they were able to keep it scoreless.
I gotta be honest with you, though, man. I don't necessarily think it wasn't the fact that the Oilers didn't play well, because I just think it was the fact that Colorado just played better.
Well, they could have, but the Oilers also sucked. Like the first period, they survived. And then in the second period, once Lehkonen got it and Manson got his second goal, you just thought at that point 2-0. Okay, they win 2-0. And then Radnan got the third goal. Okay, they'll win 3-0. And then McKinnon added on the power play goal later, which was the only power play goal of the game. And then you're like, okay, cool, they're going to win 4-0. Like each time they got a goal, you knew Edmonton wasn't scoring in that game. So it was like if they got one, it was okay, cool, they're going to win 1-0. Like that's how bad Edmonton's offense creativity was in that game. That it was cool, they're up 1-0. That's the end of the game. That's all she wrote. They might as well have the fat lady sing, wave the white flag, and do it all. Every other expression that goes with forfeiting, they should have done after the first goal was scored. That's kind of why, I mean, I think they just sucked at it. I think Colorado outplayed them because that's kind of the other way of saying that. Colorado, like another way of saying Colorado played their pants off and smoked them is saying Edmonton sucked, because what led to Edmonton sucking is the fact that they were playing Colorado and Colorado played to their game to make Edmonton look like a team that shouldn't have even been in the postseason.
That's a good way to put that. Because that's exactly what Colorado has the ability to do to a team. And then in game 3, look.
Well, that game was a bit better from the start and then fell apart.
Okay, that's what I was just going to try to say. Like, so the first game was basically a wash because Colorado was just like, yeah, first game in our building is not happening, right? I don't care how many goals you guys think you're going to score. We're just going to score more, right? You know what I'm saying?
Ridiculous.
That's what I mean, right? So that was a football score, right? 6-9 or whatever.
It was 8-6. That was more of a baseball score than a football score. That would be a football score.
Whatever. A touchdown and an extra point and 2 field goals. All right. So then the next game is in Edmonton, and you're like, well, all right, so this will be a good gauge, right? Because obviously Edmonton playing at home, the home crowd, you know, and everything's going. And then within 39 seconds, McDavid scored, and that place was just zooming. And then the tires fell off.
Yeah, I wanted them to win that game because, like, I like watching Edmonton, and they're a team that I would like to watch for more than just one more game with Draisaitl and McDavid.
See, but I think Draisaitl is hurt.
I wanted once. Oh yeah, obviously he's hurt and was playing through everything, but
yeah.
When it comes to that team, like I didn't want them to get swept. It looked like you said after that goal, it was a huge roar, and you wanted to see like success after that. But a guy that's been one of the better pickups since he's been on the Avalanche, Valeri Nichushkin, took it upon himself and scored the next 2 goals.
Yeah,
so that pretty much put that tide completely in the direction of the Avalanche until at 7:34 of the third, Ryan McLeod, who also is having a good playoffs as a bottom line player, a guy that stepped to their team at his third goal, assisted by Kulak and Derek Ryan. That tied it. So at that moment, it seemed like Edmonton had all the opportunity, even though Colorado was playing the better game. Once you tie it, you have all the opportunity in the world to just say, this is zeroed out. We're starting over again. It's basically 0-0. If we can play great in these final, whatever it was at that point, like 13 minutes, whatever it was, then we can win this game. You didn't have, like, who cares what we did in the before this 13 minutes? Like, play well in this final 13 minutes. It's tied right now, and we can win. Where obviously they did not do that because they sucked in those final 13 minutes. And Conference scored, and then Mikko Rantanen sealed it with an empty netter. So they basically did the exact opposite of what you would want to do in that situation and played worse after they tied the game, which doesn't make any sense because typically you play significantly better after you tie a game, no matter how you were playing before, because you at least get some of the momentum from tying. Whether you're playing great is a completely different story. But typically you play much better after you tie the game. That goal just seemed to have no effect on them other than the bottom line guys. And you shouldn't have guys like Ryan McLeod just bringing the energy in the last 13. Like, that didn't make any sense.
Right. Now, see, here's the thing, though. And I think one of the things that majorly affected Game 3 for the Oilers was all of their penalties. They just came at the wrong times.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
I mean, it's not like either team was able to capitalize on any of the power plays that they were given.
No, but it's a bunch of time they don't have offensive attack because they're penalty killing. So that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, so they get, penalties at bad times. Now you're not able to roll 4 lines. And look, let's face it, the Oilers need to roll 4 lines in order for them to be successful, because if you shut down, McDavid and Draisaitl is playing at like maybe 70% right now or something. If you shut them guys down, what do they got after that?
It's going to be tough.
That's what I mean, Now here's the other thing too, that Colorado is, not only are they missing Darcy Kemper, but now they're going to be missing Kadri for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I do feel like that doesn't matter at this point, though, because they're up 3-0. Like, they have so much cover.
Okay, I agree with you on that, but he is like one of their main guys on the power play 1.
Oh, no, I understand that, but it's also Colorado. Like, they're one of those teams. If you take a guy off of their power play 1, you're throwing another guy up there that wouldn't be on anyone else's power play 1 if they were not on your team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So, like, that's kind of why I don't think it'll affect them that much. Like, even JT Compher, with how he's playing, you could throw him on the power play 1 because he's been really hot lately. So just take advantage of that. So, like, there's different things that I think just make that easy for them to not have to even worry about that whatsoever. Where today I don't want it to happen, but I honestly think that's going to be a sweep. I would like to see Edmonton be able to get a win in this series, but at this point, from everything I've seen, I think that's over in tonight's game starting at 8:00.
Especially with number, 93, get suspended for 1 game after the hit on Kadri.
Yeah. Well, that's literally completely screwed them. But yeah, they're not gonna. I would be maybe they'll rally for, let's do this for Connor, try to get him 1 more game. But that's the only way I could see Edmonton.
And this isn't in Edmonton too. This game isn't an Edmonton game, so I mean,
No, isn't this one still in Edmonton?
That's what I mean. It's in Edmonton. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said it isn't. Okay.
Yeah, no, this game is in Edmonton.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, let's now get into the Rangers and Lightning. As the Rangers, I thought in Game 1. Came out pretty good because you were able to get a nice goal from Chris Kreider doing on a slap shot. Stammer was able to tie it up, but then immediately in the second, the Rangers got back to their game. Vetrano was able to score. That's kind of what's been this recipe for success with this Rangers team. Everybody's scoring. They don't kind of just have that one guy that's carrying their team. Each game you see somebody like Heidel's been doing good the whole playoffs. There's certain guys that have been doing good the whole playoffs, but you see it spreading the wealth. And that's kind of what made this magical carpet ride that the Rangers are on, so to speak, right now. Because they're kind of everyone's more sleeper in the East that now looks like they might be the best cup contender right now. So, other than Colorado. But so, like, I think at this point, if I had to pick the Stanley Cup, it's going to be them and Colorado. Because Colorado's going to win tonight. And I would say the Rangers, even after Tampa came back last game, Tampa still didn't play great. They just won. So I think the Rangers still have the head in this series, literally and just like overall wise. But
Well,
Lott was able to come back. Heidel scored twice. Zibanejad scored, and then Panarin in the third, where Heidel, Vetrano, and Zibanejad were your starters. I thought in that first game they did exactly what they needed to do. The Rangers allow shots. That's how they operate. They just don't allow high-octane shots a lot of the time and keep the teams to lower percentage scoring changes. And then when they do, they have the second-best goalie that's ever existed on the planet Earth in our current era. Potentially, we'll see over time, might be the second-best goalie that's ever existed on the planet in general, because at this point you could argue Andrei Vasilevsky skill-wise past Dominic Hasek. So I would say that now accomplishments can be different, but I would say the skill-wise you could argue he's probably
I mean, I saw the most perfect description of what these two series are going to be like. Right, because initially it was Darcy Kemper and Mike Smith for Colorado and Edmonton, right? And it's Vasilevsky versus Shesterkin for this one, right? So the picture that I saw was the New York Rangers and the Lightning series was a picture of two guys playing chess. Right? And then the next picture was the representation of the Colorado and the Edmonton one, and it's a cartoon guy that says, "Yeah, I'm Darcy Kemper, and I save the puck sometimes." And the other guy said, "Mike Smith, yeah, I do too." Right, like that's a perfect example of what's going on here, because you're looking at Shesterkin and Vasilevsky as two of the best goaltenders, gosh, hands down in the league right now.
Oh yeah. They're the top. It's the top one series where. That's why I think this is the most exciting series. Has been the most exciting series to watch, because Game 1 wasn't close. Game 2, though, then it did end up being close in a 3-2.
See, now that game right there, buddy.
Rangers.
Yeah, see, now John and I did that game. The Game 2 of the Rangers and the Lightning on Friday. And it just looks like the Rangers are the better team right now.
No,
it just does.
Yeah, it looks like, because it's once they figured out how to, just like I said earlier, how to play their own brand and stop trying to do things that the other team does best.
Exactly.
They which made sense, because they're a bunch of young guys, other than a few guys that don't have play for Swedish. So it made sense that they couldn't figure it out in the first 5 games, because they don't know what the heck they're doing.
And
so
exactly.
once they figured out what the heck they were doing, it's been very good. Since, where Keandre Miller's been playing great, Kakko's been good, Heidel's been amazing. Zibanejad didn't even get off to a fantastic start in the playoffs. It's been hot as a firecracker.
But lately, yeah.
So, like, you have him going for the Lightning. Nick Paul has been a very good pickup for them. He was the guy who was able to get the goal for them, other than Kucherov in that game, who scored on the power play. But no, this game, that game was more what we thought. Same with the third game, which, because they were 3-2, just an opposite score. But both of those games played more to what we would think of the series.
Yes.
5 over/under of 5.
Yes.
Not something like the over/under of 8 in the first game. That's more to the Edmonton series, where these two games played a lot more like, I think, the template we thought would actually
be. Exactly.
For these two games. And then in the second game, the Lightning, or the third game, excuse me, the Lightning basically just said, we're not going down 3-0, and just pushed the offense as much as possible. And
did they get lucky on some of them shots, man? Holy moly.
And Shesterkin was really the only reason they didn't win that game sooner, because the Rangers started up 2-0, but then their defense, once the Lightning made a valuable comeback, but we're already playing good before that. It's just Shesterkin was stopping everything. It's not like when they were down 2-0. Like, that's the best they played in the entire series.
I agree.
Even when they went down 2-0. It's just they were down 2-0 because they couldn't get anything past Igor. And then once they got the first one, because it was on a power play, and then lo and behold, guess what? The second one was on the power play. So the only thing that screwed the Rangers, this is why I still think they're going to win the series, because they're usually a more disciplined team, was the power play. They probably wouldn't have even lost that game, even though Tampa played really well, because the only reason Shesterkin let those in is he physically could not have stopped. Like they put them on the power play with the extra man, and a guy was left that was able to capitalize and score. So that's literally the only reason Tampa won. So that's why I don't think Tampa is moving in the right direction. They just happened to win one game because the Rangers fell flat at the wrong time of that third game. Now it's about bouncing back in the fourth game tomorrow and doing what they did in game two and having the good overall play from Shesterkin, but be able to actually, one, have a good penalty kill, and two, just not put them on the power play to be able to screw you over like it did in that game.
So both teams had 2 power play goals in game 3. Rangers were 2 for 5. Lightning was 2 for 4.
Oh yeah, but the Rangers
played better.
And well, yeah, but the Rangers were up 2-0, and their power play or penalty kill screwed them because both of those goals to make it 2-2 were power play goals.
That's what I was getting to. Yeah. So that's what I was getting to, is that their penalty kill kind of let them down there a little bit, and the Lightning were able to score on their multitude of chances on the power play as well, too. And you can't give the defending champs that many times on the power play. They're going to score eventually.
No, absolutely.
You know,
that's what. But that's why I don't think they're going to win, because they didn't play that well. They just played. They played a un-Lightning style to make sure they didn't go down 3-0.
Do you know
and
what,
pushed it as much as possible, played as aggressive as possible to make sure they didn't go down 3-0. They can't continuously do that to come back.
See, I'm with you on that, Joe, because they have not played a Lightning style of game since game 1. They've been chasing after New York. New York has been dictating the play.
Yeah, and they still did even in that game they won. It's just
that's what I mean.
It's just that's when you have to give kudos to the team and Cooper for saying we just have to switch it up and do something that nobody would expect us to really do, and then just hope that sticks for at least this game. And then we'll see what they end up doing tomorrow, because that game's tomorrow. What they end up doing when that happens, because we're recording this on Monday, the 6th. It'll come out on the 7th, so it'll actually be today when you're listening to it. But when we're recording it, it was tomorrow. But we will get in now to the finals, where the series is tied 1-1 between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics, where I picked the Warriors in this series. So hopefully that comes to fruition. Anyway. Back.
Really? You picked the Warriors? Because I thought we were picking Phoenix Suns against Miami Heat.
No. I meant in this series. Once we knew what the two teams were.
Oh, yeah.
I bet on the Warriors.
I would say, I would go with the Warriors, too, yeah.
That's what I bet. No, that's all I was trying to say.
Okay, gotcha.
But in the first game, the Warriors did not get off to the start they wanted, as they dropped it 120 to 108. But Steph Curry did have a solid game. He dropped 34. Jaylen Brown was able to play a good all-around game, which is just what he's very accustomed for. Great defensively, great offense. That all-encompassing player, basically.
Exactly.
Tatum did not have a great game in this game. He was more of a passer scoring-wise. He didn't, but Al Horford had a fantastic game off the bench, and so did Derek White. So they had the good scoring depth you're accustomed to seeing when needed from the Celtics, where if somebody's carrying like the Tatums of the world, then those guys will take a step back because they're not needed that night. But that's what helped get them over the hump in that game. But then the defense of the Warriors showed up and showed out, kept a Celtics team that's great at scoring under 90 points to only 88 points. They were able to win 107 to 88, and they were able to have a fantastic third quarter where they outscored them 35-14 to be able to win that game, where that quarter obviously just basically set the Celtics off the pasture and just completely made them lose that game because they were just completely out of it. As Curry had another good game, Wiggins and Thompson mixed in points, Jordan Poole mixed in points, where Curry was the carrying weight for that game, with just a bunch of other guys mixing in some points for them. But that was a great game by the Warriors because they played stout defensively and they played very good offensively, and everything kind of just came to fruition. They ran it through Steph Curry. Everybody else chipped in, and that worked out well. And if they could keep playing like that with the offense they have, the veterans they have with the Thompsons, and obviously Steph himself and Draymond Green that have been there, done that, won that, I think they're going to win this again, and that's why I picked them for the championship.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I thought for sure we were going to see the other two teams, but, well, Goes to show you what I know about basketball. Fits on the head of a pin. But no, seriously though, I thought it was going to be those two teams, but glad to see it's Golden State Warriors against the Celtics. I too thought that it would be more of the Warriors than Boston, but hey, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm picking the Warriors all day, but we'll round out the show with some baseball that we're mixing, and then next week's show we're going to do some check-in on the NFL, talk about some players we picked up for our respective Steelers for Steel and the Eagles for me, and we'll talk about some of those guys, what we like about guys coming into next season, who we think will have a bigger role next season, all that yada yada yada.
Yeah, because training camps start here in a month.
Exactly.
Well, the end of July usually.
About it, yeah, over a month, but yeah.
But some teams are in OTAs and stuff right now and have been over the last weeks or so, whatever. So, but how about let's check in on the Major League Baseball real quick here. And we are, I'd say, a quarter of the way into the season, 56 games in-ish.
Yeah, most teams are about that.
Right.
But right now, when it comes to the American League, the best team is still the New York Yankees that are 7.5 or 7.5 above Toronto, 8 above Tampa Bay, and now Boston, who's been playing well lately, but dug themselves into deeper hole to start the season. But now they're 500. Yeah. They're 12 back, and then Baltimore's Baltimore. So
I'm with you on that, but no, the Yankees are 722 winning percentage, man. So
the Yankees are doing ridiculous this year, and it's also beyond injuries. Britton's been injured, Chapman's been injured, Domingo Haban's been injured. Their team's been ridiculously injured still. Other than their main guys have stayed healthy, but Stan's been banged up a couple games. So I think it's the fact that they're staying healthier has really helped them too, but also getting guys like the Joey Gallo's on their team, the Keener for Lifers, the Marwin Gonzalez's, even Donaldson. Those guys that mix in well with your team, and even the veteran Matt Carpenter, who's actually playing well for the bench for them, that hasn't been years.
Yeah.
Getting in all those guys with the experience, but was still experienced, but also still playing weight in the league as well, not just a guy that's there for experience to basically be a coach that's still getting paid as a player. I think all of those moves really helped them as well. Plus, the reason they got rid of Gary Sanchez isn't because he sucks at baseball. It's because he just wasn't the best calling the game catcher. He's more of a hit-first guy. Kyle Higginachioka is known for that, and Trevino literally is just that. So he's mainly Trevino, except for this year, he actually is starting to hit a bit, but that's a first for him at the MLB level. For the MLB, he's known more for manning the pitching staff and calling the game. So I think they kind of have a perfect blend there. The only concern for the Yankees for me would be longevity of the standings and the judges, just because they haven't lasted the full 162 very often lately.
Yeah.
So is that then going to allow Toronto to catch him? Is that going to allow Tampa to catch him? I think if the Red Sox, they're more of one of the expanded playoff wild card teams, but Toronto or Tampa could definitely catch them, in my opinion, if they start kind of playing around when not winning some games, or they have the injuries to Stanton and Judge that kind of just unfortunately seem to happen year in, year out. But the most impressive team for me in baseball this year has been the Twins. The Twins have been really good this year. The Guardians have been better than expected at about the 500 mark, and they're the team that probably has the second best chance right now, it looks like, from how they played to win the division, because their pitching is immaculate, where the White Sox have a little bit more problems this year with their team. Even though the Guardians don't have the name brand of the White Sox, when you look at the roster on paper, they've just played smoother. So I think they would have this. But the Twins, they haven't been fantastic in their last 10. They're only 4-6, but every good team goes through bumps in the road. That's the
yeah. You know, that's how it's going to be, yeah.
Their pitching's good as well. Sonny Gray will be back. They're getting through injuries as well and being able to fix it. Unfortunately, Chris Paddock, who came in and did really well, was injured. Joe Ryan, who's a great rookie, is going through battling back from getting COVID and having the effects of it on your energy. So obviously you can't go out there and pitch 7 innings if you can barely breathe after you throw 30.
I mean, you know,
it's probably not going to work out well for you. So I think. And then Carlos Correa, one of the best shortstops in baseball, out with COVID illness. So there's things that happen for the Twins to lead to 4-6 in their last 10 is basically what I'm saying. Where once those two come back, just those two from their illness, they're a significantly better team because Ryan's the best pitcher probably this season in your staff, and then Correa is arguably, if not the best, one of the top 3 shortstops in the game. So obviously, when those guys come back, I think they'll be fine, and I think they're still fine now because their depth is very good, and they kind of had some unrecognized depth just because guys were doing better than expected, and are probably going to continue to improve, like the Celestinos of the world, even Kyle Garlick, who's a guy that wasn't able to do anything really the last couple of years at the MLB level. Now he's getting good at bats with the Twins. The Twins are one of the teams that tend to use analytics the best in baseball because they tend to know how to patch everybody together perfectly. It's like, well, we need a guy that just hit lefties.
Yeah.
Like Kyle can just hit lefties. Okay, cool. We're not putting him in at all against righties, but whenever we have lefties, he's smoking.
I mean,
so like, where other teams try to turn people into the Phillies into too many things that they're not. So I think the Twins are a team that does a very good job at just letting guys be them and mixing them into that mesh, and that's why they've been one of the most impressive teams for me.
I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you on that as far as the Minnesota, but I've been impressed by the Mets, to be honest with you.
I've been impressed by the Mets.
With everything that they've done in the last 2 off seasons, I think they're quite impressive. But I want to ask you a question.
The Mets was expected, though. That's the difference.
Yeah, right.
I didn't expect the Twins. Where the Mets, without the money Steve Cohen spent, which is anything that you can find, the Mets were an expected team to have great success.
Exactly.
Where that's why the Twins have been my most impressive team.
No, like I said, I agree with you. Yep, no, I agree with you 100%. But like I said, I've also been impressed with the Mets as well. And I know we have to touch on this sore subject because this has happened since the last time we've done a show. But Philadelphia has recently parted ways with their current management.
That's not really a sore subject for me. I thought Joe Girardi should have been fired months ago.
All right. Well, there you go then.
Yeah. I don't think it didn't seem like he was saying the right things, doing the right things. Now, I don't think this 4-game winning streak is, oh my God, the world has saved everything. Like, no, I'm not.
No, I know, but I mean 25 and 29 right now.
No, I understand you. I'm talking to the people that think the world is saved because we won 4 straight games after we fired a manager. That's not how it works because we're still, what the heck? I think
we're
still 11 games
below
behind
500, yeah.
And whatever it is below 500 with a 463 winning percentage. So winning for like it's like Boston because they're my second favorite team because Boston is the city my dad always go on business trips, bring me back up when I was a kid. The Red Sox is the same thing. Now the Red Sox though they're ahead of the Phillies because they're back at 500. So now you just got to keep churning and chugging from there. The Phillies still got to get back to 500, which is 4 more wins. So they got to go on an 8-game winning streak to then get to 500. Yeah. And then compoundingly build on that 8 game and only lose 1, so you go 1 below, and then you have to go on another streak so you don't keep just playing at the 500 mark. And so it's going to take a bit. Can they do it? Yeah, because it seems like this young infusion is what they should have done anyway, and not had these veterans that were sucking in the lineup over people that were 23-year-olds. Just because they're not your top prospect doesn't mean they might not play well. There's multiple teams, like the Twins, for example, we just talked about, have a lot of guys that were not people's top prospects that are on their team that are very good. So I think, like, for example, Max Kepler, that German outfielder for them, has been one of the better power-hitting outfielders and gap hitters in the league since he started playing, and he was not a top prospect. So like, there's different examples of things. I think the Phillies now finally starting to realize with Rob Thompson, and that's why they gave him the helm as an interim. And I firmly believe he will probably end up being the guy because he had a lot of experience at the Yankees under Joe Girardi. And I think he has a completely different style, though you can already tell in the first 4 games, than Joe Girardi. But I think he learned from a guy that's mainly had success. He just met his maker here in Philly, and it was time. It just wasn't successful here for Joe Girardi, but overall his career has been successful. So, I wish him the best for whatever he does now, but I think it was time to move on.
Yeah,
and Rob Thompson does seem to be the right guy because it's already looked good in the first 4, and everything he said and has talked to with the media, I already like more than how Joe's been talking lately, which I think is beating around the bush, kind of being just
he seems very I'm with you. I also like to what the Dodgers have been doing as well too. They've been playing really good defense and scoring a lot, and they have a pretty good record now. They're
unfortunately,
5-5 their last 10, but
unfortunately, and we'll update this every so often, maybe every 20 episodes. We're at 20 right now, so but we're update the team I would say would win the World Series every few episodes. Right now, if I had to pick who would win, and this is how people will know I'm not biased, my World Series winner would be the New York Mets.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with picking them.
Oh, I wouldn't have a problem picking them. I have a problem with if they won the World Series.
Well, whether or not they win or not. So there you go. He's picking the Mets right now. How about the Mets?
And I would say it would honestly be, because this is what I picture. This is why I hate I don't even like the Yankees, because the second team is Boston for me. But the one way I would like watching a New York World Series is if it just becomes the Battle of New York.
Wouldn't that be cool?
The Yankees and the Mets.
Wouldn't that be cool? Like, they wouldn't have to leave stadiums.
With how good both teams look right now, if they can stay healthy and then also get healthier because they have so many injuries. So once those guys come back, it's going to be like getting trades in August.
Yeah.
So they're going to have even a better team, both of them.
You're
good at. I think that has a high possibility, and I hope that happens. If my teams don't have the ability to have success, and both are kind of in the level of lower end of the play, like Boston's in lower end of the playoffs expectations right now, and the Phillies are in let's just get the freaking 500 expectations right now. So I would say that's the matchup I would be cherishing right now, is trying to get to the Battle of New York.
I'm with you on that all day long, man. I would love to see that, dude. That would be awesome. Okay.
And that might help save baseball too, I think, because baseball's in a dark time right now, where I think having the Battle of New York can help everybody kind of get back into baseball a little bit. People go, oh, I have to watch that. I don't care that I haven't watched baseball in 7 years. I'm watching the Yankees play.
I think that too. I agree with you on that. I think that would definitely be something that would help to bring baseball back around, would be the Yankees and the Mets in the postseason.
And that would be easy to go to too.
I know.
Go to North Jersey, hop on the train.
Wouldn't be a lot of traveling going on, right? Right. So there you go.
Be a lot of money going on, but not a lot of travel.
Well, not a lot of travel. Oh, man. Well, there you have it, folks. How about that? Episode 20, we got to talk about the playoffs for the NHL and the ECHL for the Kelly Cup, and then the Calder Cup for the AHL. Got to talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball and the season there, where they're at so far in their season. And we also got to talk about the finals for the NBA. And I'll tell you what, that's a pretty fully stacked 20th episode, I have to say. What do you think,
man? We went at the best pace.
I know, my gosh. Like, we're wrapping up, and it's like, wait a minute. Did we just do this right?
But we thank everybody for joining. I also wanted to say, check out our other podcast, All Genre Music Fest for music as well.
Real quick. Hate to interrupt real quick. Just want to be letting everybody know that I'll be adding the JB and Steel show to the Spreaker podcasting, so that pretty soon you'll be able to catch the JB and Steel show on all of your podcasting platforms. So, yeah, man, for sure. Got to be checking that out. We'll be doing that probably this week, and then it'll probably take a little while for it to come around. You know what I mean? But we'll definitely be putting that out there for all the podcasting platforms, from iHeart to Apple to Amazon, Google, you name it, Spotify, you name it, we're out there, we're on it. All you'd have to do is type in the JB and Steel show, and you'll be able to find us. So, and then also, also the All Sports, or the
All Genre Music Fest podcast.
Yeah. Roni said that we had to come up with a new name for that because that's too long. So I said, hey, that's not for me to decide. So, But thanks, everyone, for watching. Listen, Joe, why don't you tell the folks where we can find you, where we can catch you, and where we can get all your great stuff, man?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at JJBorick26. I think Borick6789 is my Instagram. And then Facebook is just searching, obviously, the person's name. So that's where
the great
that's where
JB
you can
is.
Find me.
For sure, the professor.
And hope to talk to everybody soon. Right now, DMs are usually more about hockey since it's in the peak of the playoffs for all three leagues.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I've been talking about more when it comes to talking about people. But if you want to talk about baseball, you want to talk about basketball, whatever you want to talk about.
Got it.
Season football. That's more. I would DM Steel more about that than me when it comes to the football side of things. But if you want to talk about it, yeah, sure, we can talk about it.
For sure, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, very much, very much. Really appreciate that, and really appreciate all the work that you do here at the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. Really thank you for all that.
One more thing I forgot to
say.
Yeah,
go for it.
Get ready for some stuff. We could probably segment them into this show, but I'm going to release them on my channel, too. I'm going to be doing some player interviews with the Phantoms about their journey. 10-minute segments about their hockey journey, basically, and what got them to where they are at now. So it'll probably be for 10 minutes, probably 3-4 questions pointed at that topic.
Okay.
And so so be ready for some stuff like that.
All right, cool. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, we'd love to have that out there. And then anybody that you want to bring on the show, by all means.
They can't come on for that long. So
no, I know. I'm just saying. Yeah. Anybody else?
Maybe Bob will come on for that long.
Have Bob come on.
They can't come on for that long.
Have Bob come on. Bring Bob on. We'd be more than happy to have Bob come on. Yeah. All right. So, all right, folks. That's another edition. That's the 20th edition of the JB and Steel Show. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll catch you all in the next episode. Enjoy the games.